Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome back to Tekpon. Today our guest is Steven, the CEO and founder of Badger Maps. Hello.
Hey, Christian. Thanks for having me here. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm really excited to have you. Please tell us what your company does.
Sure. So, what Badger Maps does is we have a mapping platform that helps field salespeople or outside salespeople. What we basically do is connect to wherever their customer data lives, and then we bring it into a mapping environment on their phone or their computer. And what the application does is let them focus on the best customers, build a route, see their territory in a map, so they can, basically the results are spend less time driving, more time doing your sales activities. So it's an efficiency play.
Mm. And I guess the biggest problem that you're solving is time, saving time.
Yeah, the biggest thing that we're doing, I think, is saving time, helping people focus on the right customers, and then helping them organize their time.
What are your top three features?
Top three, well, I would say putting all your customers on a map so that you can see them, view them, see who to focus on given where you're at in a given day. Second, the ability to build a route, so figuring out, well, okay, now that I know that I want to see these customers, what's the best way to see them? And
Mm-hmm.
the routing and the scheduling kind of go together, figuring out where you're going to be when so you're not late. And then the third really important thing we do is connect to the CRM so that all the data that you're gathering when you're out in the field gets sent automatically back to the CRM.
What are your current integrations?
Well, currently we integrate with Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, Zoho, HubSpot, Insightly, and NetSuite, and those are bidirectional real-time integrations. We can integrate with basically anything if we're doing it with an FTP or a spreadsheet upload. Those more basic integrations.
That's great. And please tell us the use cases of your product, so who can use it.
Well, basically, it's usually field salespeople or field service people who are going out into the field to, do a job of some kind, and they need to decide and make decisions about where they're going, who they're going to focus on, what they're going to do, and then gather data once they're there. That's the most common use case.
Okay. And can you share with us some examples of happy customers? I saw you have
Sure.
displayed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of our happiest customers are in industries like medical device, pharmaceuticals, selling things to construction companies. But we even have things, a whole bunch of things in retail, like Cutter and Buck's a great example of a customer of ours. They make like a lot of sportswear, and so they sell to different stores and colleges and stuff like that. And their reps were able to get about 20% more meetings, sell about 20% more. We've got a whole bunch of case studies on our website, and they're the one at the top, if I recall.
Awesome. And how do you differentiate from your competitors?
Well, I think the biggest difference with us, our main competitor was already purchased by Salesforce, so we compete well with them in the Salesforce environment when people do a trial of us and them in Salesforce, and we did very similar things to them, except now they only do it for Salesforce. So the differentiator would be that, so they're called Salesforce Maps today, but our difference there would be that we integrate all over the place. You don't need to have Salesforce to use us. You can have lots of CRMs or no CRM and use us. So that's probably the biggest differentiator. The quality of our integrations is pretty big. We have another competitor that I think our integrations are a lot better than, and also the mobile application is superior. The experience of it, the quality of the mobile application.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, I mean, that's on the technical side. We also consider our customer experience, so our customer support, our customer service, to be a differentiator as well.
That's important, yeah. When did you start the company?
When did I start it? January of 2012.
So please tell us, how did you come up with the idea?
Well, my last job, I was in charge of selling the Google Maps API into the Western United States, and I guess I was running into a lot of people that had these problems, and the Google Maps API is kind of built so that you can build software on top of it. And so I was exposed to both the mapping API and what, so I understood what you could do with that. I had a background in sales, and then I had done a bunch of work with mobile as well. So I kind of understood the technology that you would use to solve a problem, and I understood the problem that Salesforce salespeople face, and so it was a really good fit to understand what to do next.
How big is your team right now?
We have about 75 employees.
Well, and how about the funding? Please tell us your experience.
So the company's been bootstrapped, and we have we did a small angel round early on. There was some founder investment, and then also there was debt investment as well. And that's, we've probably got about $2.5 million in debt right now from SaaS debt providers, and I've been doing that for probably 6 years or so.
And would you recommend it to other companies?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think debt's pretty expensive, but it's come down a lot with the different SaaS providers. So companies like FounderPath, Lighter Capital, ScaleWorks. So I guess ScaleWorks is called Element Finance now, but yeah, those. And I've done business with all three of those, and there's a bunch of other ones as well. Those are just the ones that I've done business with, and I find I think it's a very helpful tool for SaaS founders. There are some gotchas you have to watch out for. You have to watch out for making, like when you're getting debt in general, making sure it's got a long enough term on it that even if they don't give you more money, you can pay it back. So it's dangerous to need to pay back debt with more debt. Certain lenders will ask for certain terms that are dangerous or can cause risk, like they'll put financial covenants in place, like, oh, you have to grow this much every year, like your annual growth rate has to be over X amount or else you're in default, and it's really bad to go into default in a loan, right? Because they can raise the rate, they can just say, hey, you have to pay us back everything right now. There's a lot of bad things that can happen. But yeah, so I would avoid any debt like that, and also sometimes you'll see debt providers put in terms that like restrict, can you pay it back or not, or can you pay it back without a penalty. So I've seen a term where they're basically like, oh, well, you have to pay us back the full amount that you would, the full amount of interest that we would have gotten. And they kind of position it as like, oh, well, if you get bought, then we still need to get our interest. But the problem with that is what if you just want to refinance them because someone else is offering you a better deal or cheaper debt? As often as you grow, you become less risky to lend money to, and so you're able to get cheaper debt from other providers. And if there's a penalty clause in there, or like a breakup clause or a clause that says, oh, you have to pay us all the interest you would have paid us, then that makes it expensive to do that. So I would, and almost all the bad terms are either you can get them negotiated away, or you can switch to a provider that doesn't have them. We're doing $5.5 million a year in revenue. We have about 8,000 customers. We have customers that are one person at a company using us, and customers that are 1,000 people at the company using us. And I think it's definitely a problem, and we've got and we've built a product that solves that problem at this point. Like, we have very, very low churn, and our customers are really happy with us. So yeah, I'd say we do have product market fit. Our biggest challenge, I would say COVID. COVID was a real challenge for us because we sell things to outside salespeople, and so that a global pandemic was a very bad time to be selling stuff to field salespeople. A lot of our customers went out of business. A lot of our customers didn't have any money, and we're barely hanging on. And so we lost about 40% of our revenue in 2020, and And so we've grown larger than we were then by today, but it took a while to come back. And last year we grew about 30%.
What has been your best growth tactic for gaining new customers?
Best growth tactic. Well, I think this may sound hackneyed, but the best growth tactic is making sure your customers are happy because they tell other customers. So we ask everybody where they heard about us from, and it's almost always friends, coworkers, other people who have used it. I think SEO is important. Obviously people look for new solutions on Google, so we definitely get a lot there. But our biggest searches where we get customers from on Google too is people that are searching for the words Badger Maps. So they're looking for us, and so it comes through. It's through Google, but they were searching specifically for us already. So I think a lot of it is word of mouth and just having a great product.
Awesome. And what is your vision for the future?
Well, I mean, we're gonna keep doing what we're doing and continuing to do things for field salespeople, field service people. We do have a new product out. It's a training product. It's kind of like Hulu or Netflix, but all the videos are sales training videos. So that's called Badger Sales University, and that's $29 a month for all the sales learning you can handle. And there's 1,000 trainings or something, and it's a really nice resource. And so that's a new product that we just came out with this past year.
And please tell us your backstory, so how you started your career.
Well, I guess I started out in sales. I mean, after business school, so I went to business school at Stanford. Then I went through IBM's sales training program. And then from there, I went to a software company called Autonomy, and that's when the cloud was just getting going. And then I went to Google after that, and then that's where the cloud really started to accelerate, and Google was obviously a major part of that early on. And I got to work on a bunch of their cool cloud products and mobile stuff, and that's kind of where I came across this problem and knew that it was a solvable problem.
And please tell us about your own podcast.
That's right. Yeah. So I have a podcast, and it's specifically for field and outside salespeople, and that's called very originally Outside Sales Talk. So there what I do is I have sales thought leaders come on the show and teach what their areas of expertise are, but through the lens of knowing that it's field salespeople, outside salespeople who are listening to it.
I hope it helps a lot, and I'm sure it helps a lot of salespeople, and also for you to create brand awareness. And
absolutely, I mean, I think a podcast is a great way to get the word out there that you have something going on, and it's all about really creating value for the people that you want to service with your product. If you create a podcast that really creates value for them, it gets, a great episode gets shared around. I mean, we have episodes that get watched 30,000 times on YouTube, and harder to tell exactly what's going on in things like the Apple Podcast Store, but it's a lot of downloads and listens.
That's super if it's working. Yeah. And please tell us your best piece of advice for salespeople.
Best piece of advice for salespeople. So much. There's so many things with sales to be great at, right? And you have to at least be good enough at them to be a successful salesperson, whether it's, finding new leads and kind of pounding the pavement or pounding the phone, depending on what your industry is, to qualifying deals, to really being an expert and a consultant to people, and knowing how to close. All these things are important skill sets. But I think, in my opinion, the most important one is really being an expert in your customer's business and really understanding them, really understanding what their needs are, what's going on with them, what their problems are, even in areas that aren't related to you. Because if you're truly an expert in their business, then it's a lot easier to understand them and create value for them.
Absolutely. And what's your favorite software?
My favorite software. Well, it'd be pretty tough to live without Google Docs.
I get that. Okay, awesome. And is there anything else that you want to last today on the podcast?
No, if people want to get a hold of me, best place to do that is probably LinkedIn. Just look up Steve Benson, Badger Maps, and just mention that you heard me on the podcast. If you have interest in Badger Maps there or in Badger Sales University, just mention to the team member that you run into that you heard about us on this podcast, and they'll give you 2 months free of the product.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this.
Kick the tires, make sure it works for you.
Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it.
For sure.